will be giving the Dhamma talk in English at the BIA, as he always does, so we can all benefit from his Dhamma. His other talks in Bangkok are usually in Thai, so if you would like to try a different flavor of Dhamma from Ajahn, you can follow Ajahn to the other talks, which will be given in Thai. For today, Ajahn will be going along with the theme that the BIA has set for the remaining part of December, which is finding peace. So Ajahn will be giving a talk on the topic of finding inner peace, and up to Ajahn on how long the Dhamma talk will be, but we might allocate 20 minutes for Q&A afterwards, Ajahn. So if to save time, maybe I can request for Dhamma talk, Ajahn.
Okay. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So welcome everyone, and BIA. It's a very suitable place to gather and have the opportunity to listen to Dhamma, study the Buddhist teachings, and using the theme of inner peace is really, I mean, it's apt. It's something that everyone is interested in, or most everyone is interested in, or if they're not at all interested in it, a good person to avoid. It's you meet somebody who's dedicated to confusion and chaos. It's a good person to avoid. But I think that it is something that we all seek, we all crave, and it's something that satisfies the heart. Whereas, let's say, like, happiness, getting what you want, getting some kind of sensual hit of some sort, something pleasurable. It's not that those are bad in any way, but they don't really have that same kind of satisfactory quality as peace does, and so that having a kind of an inclination to trying to figure out where does peace actually come from, and certainly for myself as a student of Ajahn Chah, who was a forest meditation master in the northeast of Thailand, his monastery and his teaching was dedicated to peace, but the foundation of peace was always, and it's important to pay attention. What kind of foundation am I trying to build in order to experience peace? Because we tend to go towards the simple or the obvious, and look to what is seemingly gratifying or at least logical, but sometimes the Buddha really challenged us to not accept what's on the surface. And there was one time there was a monk came to study with Ajahn Chah, and he was he had some very strong meditative experiences, and he was able to make his mind peaceful quite quickly and quite solidly. He'd sometimes go into states of concentration that would last for long periods of time. And those are very peaceful and blissful. And so then he thought, wow, I've experienced this with this method or this training, and then there's this teacher, Ajahn Chah, who's supposed to be some great master. I should go study with him. So he did. He went up and studied to stay with Ajahn Chah. And one of Ajahn Chah's foundations of training was that you have to be ready to experience everything with a mind of stability and equanimity, and not be shaken. And this monk was living with Ajahn Chah, and he found it quite difficult to stay with him, because sometimes the routine would never be quite the same. Sometimes the conditions seemed to be not so supportive. There seemed to be noise, or sometimes there seemed to be work projects, but Ajahn Chah took him under his wing, and especially if sometimes getting taken under Ajahn Chah's wing can be terrifying, or in a sense he pushes you, challenges you, and so that. And looking after Ajahn Chah was, you had to really pay attention. You had to be alert and attentive all the time. And then this monk would get bored or fed up with whatever was going on. And so then he would just go to his object of meditation to be able to be peaceful and not have to deal with the things that he didn't like or didn't agree with. And he was, I remember, I knew him fairly well, so he was telling me about this. And he said that every time the mind would just start to get together and just start to get peaceful, Ajahn Chah would call me and say, oh, so-and-so, go and get this for me. Go and take this over there. Go and give this a cleaning. And he said, it was just so frustrating. He never let me settle down. And he said, he said, finally, I just got so frustrated, I went with him with a tray of offerings and going to take my leave. I was going to go live somewhere else. And so then Ajahn Chah said, yeah, yeah, that's fine. You're welcome to go and you can go back to your cave. This monk was living in a cave before he came. You can go back to your cave and learn how to be peaceful there, or you can continue to stay here and learn how to be peaceful anywhere. And so the monk opted to stay with Ajahn Chah, as frustrating as it was sometimes. But that's the thing, you have to be willing to learn from your experience. And this is, I mean, this period of time at the Buddhadasa Indapanno archive, the BIA, as a series of talks, if I'm understanding correctly, there's a series of talks about mindfulness, and so that mindfulness plays a central role in the cultivation of qualities that allow the mind to become clear and steady and peaceful, to actually access peace. This being able to to pay attention to the qualities of mindfulness, but also in doing that, then because sometimes, especially in Western literature, then current kind of understanding of mindfulness, it's pretty narrow, and but mindfulness from the Buddhist perspective is multifaceted. And comprises be ready to put forth effort. This is not a passive attention on one object somehow, and then you're going to assume you're being mindful. You have to learn how to bring up effort and put a kind of energy into what you're doing. And to be able to direct that effort skillfully, properly. This is is one of the factors of the Eightfold Path in Buddhism, is right effort. Learning how to either to avoid or to relinquish things that are unwholesome, unskillful, not beneficial. And so you have to recognize it. It's mindfulness that recognizes, oh, that's unskillful. Might be attractive, or it might be logical, but it's this is not going to do me any good. And then the effort that we put into the bringing into being, the cultivation of the wholesome, the skillful, the beneficial, and then maintaining that, being able to maintain that. How do you maintain it? How do you sustain it? So there's that is an application of mindfulness that we have to learn about and figure out how to make this work. And so this is a factor of mindfulness. Another factor of mindfulness is kind of like a clear comprehension, in the sense of there's a reflective quality to mindfulness. It's not just a bare, and sometimes it is translated as bare attention. But no, there's a reflective and investigative quality that needs to be applied at the same time in order to, again, that recognition of, okay, what is actually skillful? What's beneficial? What is going to lead to brightening and allowing the mind to become peaceful, so that there's a reflection and a reviewing and investigating, and then the ability, of course, to put attention onto an object and remember to do it. In this scriptural language, the word that has been translated as mindfulness, which it's not a bad translation. It's not a good translation either, but it's what we got, and it's good enough. But the connotation of mindfulness is also recollection, from the root word of say mindfulness, which is sati. It's the same root as sanya, which is memory and perception. So that sense of being able to recollect and bring to mind over and over again is through, and remembering what is actually important, what's useful. Because, I mean, the problem isn't that we don't know what to do. We just keep forgetting to do it. It's kind of that's the problem of human existence. So. And then the last quality that the Buddha points to is a quality of just stepping back from the kind of the likes and dislikes that one has toward the world, the desires and aversions and fears that one has toward the world, and the world being not just that world out there. Because when the Buddha is asked at one point, the world, what is the world? And the world, and the Buddha says, the world is the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, the body, the mind. That is the world. So that whereby we experience the world, that's the world. So that there is an objective world that exists out there. There's a subjective world that we're engaging with or need to engage with. So that having that mindfulness and clarity is essential to cultivate and develop. So these qualities, kind of constituents of mindfulness, are really important. And then when the Buddha talks about mindfulness as a path or as a path factor, this is a direct path. It's a direct path for the overcoming of suffering, overcoming of our biases, overcoming of sorrow, lamentation, and for the realization of peace and nibbana. So it's this mindfulness. And again, the Buddha doesn't ever isolate just one thing. Okay, just be mindful and everything's going to be fine. Because mindfulness encompasses the rest of the path of training and cultivation, that learning how to attend to this skillfully and hold it in the right way. Because there is a kind of need for the mind to have, when we think of the inner peace, one of the factors of the foundation for inner peace is fundamentally right view, having a view that accords with truth. As if we're not aligning our view, our perspective, our understanding with what's actually the way things truly are, then it's going to be problematic. If you want everything to be permanent and stable and always gratify and satisfy you and be able to exert control and have possession over it, well, good luck. It ain't going to happen. But that sense of right view is so important, because again, we forget, we don't review, we don't reflect enough. So that quality of, as we apply awareness and attention and mindfulness, we need to be reviewing and assessing what is the result of this? What is this? Is this working? Is this actually beneficial or not? Is this making me peaceful? And so that, because, I mean, one of the problems is we tend to do things, according to, we've got a belief or an assumption or a hope. If I just do it like this, if I get, and so that's what the world tells you. If you get enough get enough money, get enough status, get enough possessions, get enough, get your relationship just right, have absolutely the right partner, then you're going to be happy, and you're going to be peaceful, and everything's going to be fine. And the world it advertises itself well, but it doesn't deliver the goods. It just doesn't do it. It's not possible to do it. And it's not that one looks at it negatively. It's just you have to look at it with a view of wisdom and clarity. But what is it that actually allows the mind to be peaceful? And sort of learning it's the cultivation of these really bright and wholesome qualities of the heart. That this you can carry around with you. This you can cultivate. This you can develop. This you can return to over and over again. But you have to learn how to reflect and investigate. It's kind of like, but again, we think something's going to be okay, and it's not. It's kind of like, I'm from North America, so one of the common animals in North America are raccoons, and they're kind of everywhere, and they're very. Many people will think them very cute. Some will, if you live in an urban setting, you'll think of them as trash pandas, because they get into everything, and because because one of the things they're intelligent, they're actually problem solvers, and they do have kind of an opposing thumb, so they've got kind of like similar human hands, and then one of the things that they do as part of their how they live is they wash their food. So they're very neat, very tidy, kind of cute, but if you give them like a sugar cube, and so they'll take it and wash it, and they'll be confused what happened, and so they'll go look for another sugar cube, and you go and wash it, and they don't ever quite catch on that when you wash sugar cubes, you end up with nothing. And so that, say us humans, not so different, where we're saying, if I just get what I want, get enough of this, then I'd be happy, and it's not the case. It's just not possible. And so that we, learning the limitations and the capacity, because you see the limitations of the world around us, but you also start to recognize and investigate the capacity of the human heart to be peaceful, to be bright, to be kind of unshakable. And this was something that drew many of us to my teacher Ajahn Chah, was that he was, there was a quality of brightness and unshakability that was really very attractive, and sort of okay, what do I have to do to be like that? You'll have to excuse me. I just came back from India, from Bodh Gaya, and the air quality is definitely unsatisfactory. It's just really deep in my lungs right now. It needs to get out sometimes. So this sense of this unshakability, and so that we have to be willing to recognize that, to have the mindfulness to recognize more and more clearly what is going to be leading us in a place of being clear and stable. So that's a and I think one of the things is sometimes people think that this and it is this. The Buddha emphasizes over and over again. This is a path of relinquishment, of letting go, of being willing to step back and give things up, and but to, rather than seeing that as a loss, to be able to recognize it as an occasion or opportunity for peace and clarity and well-being. So that and one of the things that even though we do look to this path as a freedom from dukkha, from discontent, dissatisfaction, from suffering, in the same breath, it's a path of well-being. This is a path of deep, like a path of deep peace, is to be really happy, and the Buddha points to qualities that we have to be willing to find delight in, to enjoy, and see the fruit of it, and recognize that when we cultivate that joy and happiness, what is the result? What's the quality? Is that more stable or is that more steady? And so the Buddha points to this different quality, about a half a dozen different qualities, to learn how. It's like learning how to enjoy. It's like learning how to enjoy the teachings, because there's different ways of approaching the teachings. But the Buddha's teachings are, when they're pointing to truth and they're expressed in ways, really it brings a lot of joy and happiness when truth is actually being spoken. And of course, there's ways of making it incredibly boring and disheartening as well. But that tends to be because it's being philosophized about, or being debated or something. But the Buddha was not really a debater. He was not a philosopher. He was just sort of laying out a path of, you do this like this. If this is, you put this together. It's like setting out a recipe. And when you do it like this is what you end up with. And if that's what you like, then go for it. So it's something that is so like enjoying the teachings and finding an approach to the teachings that resonates, and it'll be different for different people. And certainly these days, the access to teachings is it's really so accessible and easy to access, and the internet can be and YouTube can be a hopeless, confusing mess, but it's also it does work on algorithms. And so if you start showing some interest in different types of teachings, and it starts showing you different possibilities, and you start getting the flavor of, okay, what flavor of teachings really seems interesting and valid and useful, beneficial, and things. There's no such thing as an absolute right teaching, in the sense of, it's because it's whatever works for oneself. And, certainly for myself, I was drawn to a forest master like Ajahn Chah, and there was many other people who showed up and left. It's ordinary, and it's not that they weren't sincere, but it didn't resonate with them. So you have to pay attention. What is it what aspect of the teachings really helps me to get interested? Because I think that's the thing, is that in order to really grow in these teachings, there has to be something that sort of lifts up that interest, and then is able to sustain the interest. So that and you've got to figure that out. You can't sort of wait for some dazzling sort of thing from the Buddha till it finally works for one. So it's up to us, and of course that's this is one of the qualities that the Buddha points to as the nature of Dhamma, is this sense of it's something to be seen for each wise person for themselves. It's just that's the way it is. But we have to be wise in order to see it. So learn how to do that. Figure it out. Enjoy the teachings in some way. Enjoying the teachings. Enjoying meditation. Because sometimes we can make meditation really uncomfortable and unpleasant. So much striving, so many kind of ideas about what I think it should be, I'm trying to get it this way, trying to follow this technique, and so you have to really take an interest. How do I make this enjoyable? How do I enjoy this meditation? Why wouldn't it be enjoyable to actually have some control over one's mind? But but there it is. We get tied in knots sometimes. So that sense of taking interest of how does the meditation become enjoyable? What can I do to what method, what technique, how do I balance my meditation? Sort of, it's got some. I remember Ajahn Chah talking about. He said he came across that one time where the postures need to be even. So then he started, sitting for 1 hour, or walking for an hour, or standing for an hour, lying down for an hour, trying to keep his postures even. And he said, "Wow, that was really awful." So just keep doing that for a little while. You're pretty disoriented, but he said, no. In the end, to make your postures even, it's to have an even continuity of attention and mindfulness and reflection and investigation. That's your continuity of the postures is not an external thing. So you've got to figure it out, and then you also got to be willing to make mistakes. I mean, if you're too worried about getting the meditation technique absolutely right, follow it absolutely perfectly, you just get tense, and that is not helpful. But learning how to enjoy the meditation and to find out what's helpful for some people. For myself, I found mindfulness of breathing really pleasant, and over the, I mean, not just years, it's decades now since I started meditating and since I ordained as a monk, and that's still my go-to option is mindfulness of breathing. For some people, the breath is just boring. And it doesn't really grab them at all. So so what kind of meditation is interesting? Because there's lots of different techniques and methods and ways of approaching the meditation. You can have discursive meditations of investigation. Yeah, really just sort of lifting up themes of anicca, dukkha, anatta, impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, not self. These are themes to lifting up devotional meditations of recollection of Buddha and Dhamma Sangha, using imagery to visualize pure beings and Buddhas in different realms. It really uplifts the mind. I don't have a visual mind, so I'm much more grounded in, say, bodily sensation. So you have to do what works for you. So that exploring that and investigating. So joy and happiness comes when you learn how to enjoy the meditation. Enjoying giving up is really important, because if you, as I said, if you think you're going to get anything out of this world, then this is a problem. You have to be willing to give it up, and you have to be willing to relinquish, and this is a path of relinquishment. But it's not. That's not a sense of being deprived of anything. It's just recognize I can't hold on to anything anyway. Just not possible by the nature of the things that are all fabricated, and they're in a state of constant flux and change. And whether it changes quickly or changes slowly, things change. And it doesn't mean one is dismissive. Or no, or viewing it as a negative thing. It's just the way things are. How do you live within a realm of impermanence and change and not get hooked by anything? So you have to learn to give things up all the time. Give up your preferences. Give up your views and opinions. Those are really hard. Give up that sense of trying to gain and get anything. But that the freedom that comes from that is incredibly peaceful, as well as being enjoyable. So the sense of inner peace is coming from these qualities that we're willing to put our attention towards and to enjoy. Learn how to find joy and happiness in these simple things, simple qualities, and to learning how to enjoy solitude, not having to be in social interaction with people all the time. It's tiring. It doesn't mean you have to be a hermit. It doesn't mean you have to push people away or push responsibilities and duties away. But it's also, can you enjoy just being by yourself on your own in a quiet situation? You're learning how to enjoy that. Delighting in the silence of things, because it's that delighting in silence that opens the heart to a kind of that inner peace. And because in the end, it's also just learning how to enjoy the silence of the mind. So what happens when the inner chatter starts to slow down? we fill it up real quick. But if we're taking interest in enjoying that solitude or that silence or that stillness, then it starts to expand, it starts to stabilize, it starts to settle. And when you realize, oh, we can be carrying this with us. It's not that I have to be in an absolutely quiet place with absolutely controlled environment in order for this to be settled and still. It's something we can cultivate because it's within the heart itself. So that sense of taking an interest in solitude, enjoying it, enjoying kindness. This is a very simple quality that the Buddha points to, enjoying that fundamental human kindness of looking out for each other, looking out for yourself, being kind to yourself, being kind to others, looking on each other with kindly eyes rather than aversion or competition or fear. Those don't bring much happiness to the mind, but that peace comes with a foundation of well-being, and so that enjoying kindness. So both when one does it oneself, but also noticing the kindness of others sometimes, because what usually draws our attention is when somebody does something that we don't like, or it looks a bit selfish, or it looks a bit off-putting in some way, and it sticks in our mind. But then actually to change one's attention is, how do we enjoy the kindness that people show? And so then you start noticing it more, because I think in general, most human beings are they want to do something good with their life. It's just is fundamental. The last quality that the Buddha points to is to enjoy what he calls non-proliferation. In the scriptural language, it's like nippapancha. The papancha is to proliferate, to think, to build on, to compulsively add on to the commentary of what we're experiencing, and to proliferate about what might go wrong or might go well, or how it should be and how the world should be. And you get the picture. It's what our what our mind does habitually is it proliferates. And so that actually, again, it's similar to that delighting in stillness, and in learning how to enjoy stillness, but enjoying that mind that doesn't follow that impulse to proliferate and add another comment to it, even if it's correct. Like, so what? This is there's something so valuable about the mind that is willing to drop its proliferation. So again, that's the sense of relinquishment, letting go. You can be willing to let go of the proliferation, and what's then what is apparent is, oh, here's this stillness, here is this inner peace. It was actually there all the time, and I was stirring it up and messing it about, and the mind has always been peaceful. The problem is you don't notice it, or we cover it over, we agitate it, and so that just learning how to recognize, and this is the function of right view, learning how to recognize what is important, what is helpful, what's necessary. So that this sense of picking up the theme of the day of inner peace, realizing that it's something that is within our capability. It's not that far away. Just learning how to attend to it with mindfulness and wisdom. So I'll offer that for reflection this afternoon.
Han tamayang tamakataya satu karang tatama se satu 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 anumotami. So now we'll open the floor for questions, and we'll have a few microphones floating around, so just feel free to raise your hand and we'll take the microphone to you. Usually it gets a while to warm up, so best to ask first, because by the end there'll be a lot of questions, we hope.
How to deal with stubbornness in Buddhism? How to deal with stubbornness in Buddhism?
How to what?
How to deal with stubbornness.
How to deal with stubbornness. Well, I mean, one of the things is you always want to look at the benefits and the drawbacks of things. You want to look at things from a broader perspective. In the sense of what's the benefit and what's the drawback? Because if something leads to suffering and conflict and difficulty, then okay, this is not useful. What can it be? But if something might lead to benefit, what the reason why I'm going down this track is that remember on a few occasions people have asked me, what is it that is a like in our communities, what's a quality that people have that how do they stay as monastics and keep training and keep practicing in this way? And I said, well, one of the qualities that people who come here tend to be stubborn. So it can be a good thing. If you're blindly stubborn and foolish, then it's a real problem. But a willingness to stick to something and not give up too easily can be really good. So that sort of seeing what the result is, and because you're always wanting to look in terms of, and this is actually one of the standards that the Buddha gave for his own awakening, in the sense that in many suttas, the Buddha would cast his description of his awakening in the light of, say, the Four Noble Truths. It wasn't until I saw these Four Noble Truths in all their aspects that I was able to declare that I was fully awakened. Or sometimes it was through like the dependent origination, seeing the conditioned nature of things, seeing this clearly and fully, that I was able to declare my full awakening. But another way that the Buddha comes out, it wasn't until I was really able to see the benefit as the benefit, the drawback as the drawback, the way out as the way out, that I could declare my full awakening. So that being able to, okay, there is a stubbornness there that one might have, or some other quality that one has, but how do you turn it around so that it is of benefit rather than drawback? What can one do to not identify with it as a me and mine? This is who I inevitably am all the time. That's a way out. It's this relinquishment of self. So that looking at it from a broader perspective is really helpful to dealing with stubbornness. Because also, it's a good way to create suffering, is to blindly do something with a real dogged approach, stubbornly, and even if it is successful, it's somehow not very satisfying.
I have one very practical question.
Yes.
I am planting some vegetables for my mother,
Yeah.
and I want it to be organic. So there are a lot of pests, and I don't want to kill pests.
Yep.
They are very small,
Yep.
but they are eating a lot of my vegetables.
Yep.
So I feel guilty because in order to drive the pests away, I have to spray some, like something like, no, not pesticide. I try something organic
Yeah.
to make it smelly,
Yep.
to make it smelly,
Yep.
but the pests still stay.
Yep.
And now my vegetables, half of them are gone. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but at least they're
So I
the half
think
that's left. The
it's
half
my
that's left,
sin.
you can be happy about.
My mother loves vegetables from my garden,
Yeah.
but I feel guilty because I have to kill the lives. Even though it is a small life,
Yep.
it is still alive.
Yes.
Can you please?
absolutely.
Yes, I think it's a little bit funny, but it really is disturbing me these days. So I would love to seek for your guidance.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think one of the things you realize, okay, this is not simple. One of the realities of not just the human condition, but any a sentient being, the nature of having any kind of life is that we feed on each other. It's just the unfortunate reality. And if you want to make a very conscious choice to really not harm, then you do your research and trying to find out what are ways, things that you can spray, and tea tree oil is a good one. There's some cinnamon is a good one sometimes, but and you have to be willing to give some to the bugs as well. So that sense of relinquishment and giving up, because it's everything is, it's the nature of existence. Things exist because we're all eating each other. This is not a comfortable realm.
Thank you.
Hello, Bhante. I'm wondering exactly what recollection is like in the point of view of the canon, because I practice repeating Arahang sometimes, and I'm wondering if that's the right way to do it, repeating a word over and over, or is it recollection in the sense of remembering like qualities and thinking about qualities, because I sometimes do that too. Thank you.
Yeah. No, it has a broader application than just that recollection. And it's not that it's wrong or something is absolutely right, but it's sort of what works, what actually helps the mind settle, what helps it to be mindful, what does it take an interest in, and so that. So like I just came from Bodh Gaya, and you see these incredibly devoted Tibetan lay people going around, and they're doing their circumambulations and they're chanting Om Mani Padme Hum, and they're it's really inspiring to there's a repetition. Who knows how many repetitions they're doing, and they're seem to be very, very uplifted. For somebody else, it might not land at all. Sort of, and in say like the northeast of Thailand, the most common meditation technique is just the recitation of the word Buddho. It's the name of the Buddha, and so that really lands and works for many people. And for some, it can be just not enough to engage the mind in. So you have to experiment and see. And certainly just in terms of the classical list of recollections that the Buddha gave, the recollection of the Buddha, recollection of Dhamma, recollection of Sangha, a recollection of virtue, just that sense of virtue, of goodness, and recollection of generosity, of giving, uplifting the mind with that. Recollection of devatas, and especially for many Westerners, what's the point of recollection of devatas? What are you supposed to be doing with that? Celestial being, but for some, and actually the way that the Buddha described it is, and just one recollecting that there are these heavenly beings or celestial beings that have been reborn, and they've been reborn because of the conditions that they set. So recollect, I'm putting into motion those conditions that other beings are experiencing these heavenly states. So it's again uplifting. There's a recollection of the recollection of the body, and there's many different ways of recollection of the body. And it can be both neutral or uplifting, in the sense, especially analytical recollection of the nature of the body being composed of elements, and so that the mind starts to let the body dissolve, and it becomes very spacious. Recollection of death. Recollection of say, the mindfulness of breathing is a recollection. Recollection of peace. These are themes that are classically or traditionally set out for recollection, and then there's many variations or approaches that one could do. But it's just like sort of see, what works, what makes sense, what helps.
Thank you, Tanajan.
Hello, Venerable. Welcome back.
Yes.
I was just wondering, there's talk of different realms, earthly realm, heavenly realms. Are these actual places, or are they states of awareness or states of mind?
I guess it depends on who you ask. I don't have a problem with it being either.
It can be both.
I don't have I'm not really how do you say psychically inclined, but I've seen and been around enough and seen enough. Okay, there's lots of things that I don't understand, but there's lots more happening here than just a material realm. So I don't have a problem with it, but I can't. How do you say? I can't say in my experience I have seen heavenly realms, in the sense of celestial realms or deva realms. Certainly, I've experienced all those realms of qualities of mind, where the mind gets very bright and experiencing tremendous well-being and bliss, and experiencing the realms of suffering and just where the mind is just very unsatisfied. And so that those realms certainly exist in the mind, and it's definitely a good starting point. But I wouldn't be totally committed to a materialist perspective of the world.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sawadee-kap, Kun Ajahn. May I ask how you, when you find this peace, let's say you have enough expertise, you have had a great family, children, wealth, how do you keep your mind or peaceful, or what gets you going that you want to live longer and be here around?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things is recognizing. I think it's also expanding one's definition or one's view of what peace is, so that the sense of peace being a quality of clarity and stability that is not easily shaken is to me maybe a better definition, rather than this peaceful state that I get when I don't have to deal with my family and my job, sort of thing.
But what keeps you going, another 10 years or 20 years once you reach a certain age, expertise, happiness, and all these things that you go through?
For me, I think one of the things is the what I would say is recognizing the truth of the possibility that the Buddha has given to us of experiencing something beyond our mundane experience of ourselves and the world around us, so that we're go beyond the sense of either boredom or frustration or feeling of limitation. And to me, that's what's really peaceful.
So you just get up and you just continue what you've been doing. You live in this peaceful state.
If it's working, you keep doing what it is. But you can't keep washing that sugar cube as well.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Namaskar, พระอาจารย์ I just wondering that as a normal people, how can we help sick people when they're experiencing dying state? Either they have no conscience or feeling pain. How we can talk with them to help them to finding inner peace, and to help his spiritual finding peace.
Well, I think one of the things that's really important is like being around sick people who are experiencing pain and illness, is kindness. Just being kind, just being willing to be present. Because oftentimes what we find it really intimidating. And it brings up a certain fear in us, and so then we try to do something to fix it, and some things aren't fixable, and yes, I mean, you do what you need to do, but some things, in the end, this, say, illness is going to take its course, or death is going to take its course. But being very, very kind and being very present, and recognizing, say, the difference, because when you're very present like that, you'll tend to respond in a way that is kind of helpful or is attentive to their well-being, or at least it's not disruptive to their agitating to them, and especially as somebody is dying, just to be present there and to be receptive, to be willing to help out. And sometimes it's just a matter of holding their hand or something. You can't do much, but doing something that is not agitating things or disrupting things or adding to somebody's increased worry and concern. So it's dealing with one's own fear and desire to make things different is giving somebody a lot. If we're willing to not come with our agenda of what we think they should be doing, what I would like them to be doing, what I would like them to be experiencing, that opens up a lot of space to be able to be present for them, and that makes them they can relax in that.
Thank you. I have a question. Even before I come here, because I have some friends, they believe in other religion. When something really bad happen, overwhelming things, like some tragedy, they will they feel helpless. They will talk to their God. They will ask help from their God. But for us, we practice meditation, but we cannot become, master of meditation. So when something like that happens, what can we do to keep our inner peace?
Well, I mean, you have to have a refuge within yourself. Waiting for somebody else to solve your problems is never really a good solution. Even if it's some all-powerful, all-seeing God somewhere, that's it's like we're creating a fantasy of hope that it's hard to satisfy that. But learning how to deal with one's own sense of intimidation or loss or fear or desire, that gives you the tools to start to be able to deal with it for oneself and to be present, to be able to help others.
Thank you.
How does one find peace with the knowledge of one's past misdeeds?
Well, one is acknowledging, okay, that was unskillful, that was not, it was not beautiful, and then setting a course, setting an intention of really not wanting to repeat that. And the problem is we start to solidify me as this flawed being who is hopelessly stained and problematic, and well, that's a proliferation, and it's very powerful, but it's being able to recognize, okay, is that really who I am anymore? I see the pain in that. I really want to change. I really want to overcome, and to be able to direct. That's where those recollections are really important. Okay, I'm actually committed to cultivation and development. Okay, I'm committed to virtue and honesty. I'm committed to not harming. How do I maintain that? See, and so you're committed to the action rather than identifying with a past action. And you used it to teach yourself, okay, you don't want to go down that route again. So Okay, let's have learned from that.
Namaskaran, Ajahn. I would like to ask on how do I control my emotions? Like, let's say I get mad at someone and I don't want to cause harm, but I want to let go of it. How do I do it?
Well, it's sort of seeing the painful result of especially with anger. Anger is a painful emotion. There's nobody who's experienced anger and it's ever felt good. It's just as the nature of anger. So it's now, the Buddha compares it to spitting into the wind. Just you start spitting and the wind blows it right back in your face. So not very fruitful endeavor. So just being able to recognize that more and more clearly, and then I'm trying to set an intention. Oftentimes we try to set an intention. I'm going to be restrained. I'm going to be good. But it's a nice intention. But you can't always rely on that. But you can sort of reflect and say, "Wow, I've been here, done that. This is painful. How do I stay away from that?"
Thank you.
Namaskaran พระอาจารย์โยมโอเจ้าค่ะ
Yes, I see that.
Yes พระอาจารย์ครับ we are surrounding with a lot of sensual pleasure. How could we develop renunciation? Because every day,
Well, we're surrounded by lots of sensual pleasure, but it's choosing to chase after it is the opposite of renunciation.
But it's in front of me, all the good food or good clothes. It's in front of me all the times.
Well, I mean, it's sort of like the Buddha didn't forbid us from eating or from having clothes. I dress different, but I kind of like these clothes. So it's, but it's sort of really finding this place of moderation, where you're not chasing after gratification. That's where that renunciation is. It isn't sort of forbidding it or stopping it, having any kind of impulse towards it, or recognizing. I mean, one of the things that always struck me in the discourses of the Buddha is these teachings, collections of all the teachings where the Buddha is telling you what to be doing and cultivating, and perspectives on right view and all that, how to gain wisdom and freedom. But a whole other section of the Buddha's canon is the section on the rules of discipline, on Vinaya. And one of the Vinaya sort of encouragements is that the Buddha gives is the using toothwoods, like being able to, cleaning your teeth after the meal, and using these like a type of wood which is aromatic and medicinal, cleans your mouth, and the Buddha gives, I can't remember how many benefits of toothwoods, but one of the benefits of toothwoods is it makes your food taste better. It's not the Buddha's not sort of forbidding us from tasting anything that's a bit delicious or tastes good. It's sort of, but how do you put it into a perspective of what is
Especially when we're on vacation, we think about shopping, going to get a massage,
well,
and good food.
It's not very peaceful, is it? There's a narrow end to it.
ขอบคุณค่ะ
นมัสการสวัสดีค่ะพระอาจารย์ I have a question about how do I learn how to live alone and live by myself without having fear.
Oh, well, get to like yourself a bit. You start realizing, oh, see, I enjoy myself. I don't have to have people or have to have things or have to have. Just learn how to enjoy yourself. Sort of delight in, having kindness towards yourself. Oftentimes we're trying to force ourselves to be something special or different, and it's really uncomfortable. And how do we learn how to, and that's where enjoying. The teachings, enjoying meditation, enjoying simplicity, enjoying kindness, enjoying non-proliferation. All of these are inner qualities that we get more and more comfortable with ourselves, and so is more, because oftentimes, like living with people. Sometimes people really come like living in a community, living in people. But one of the hardest things is learning how to live by yourself, or live with yourself. Wherever you are, whether you're with people or not. So you're just learning how to be kind to yourself.
Sadhu.
พระอาจารย์ค่ะ you did put forward the idea that we should enjoy our meditation or our practice, but then you mentioned about suffering as well. Would you be willing to share from your experience, how did you overcome your suffering, your own suffering as a young monk or any time?
Well, you're willing to learn from it. That's the difference, is when you're willing to learn from it, then it becomes interesting. It might not be enjoyable, but it's very satisfying to realize, oh, I really learned something. That was difficult. It didn't have, and it doesn't have to be difficult in order to be successful. Because sometimes people will take that as a badge of honor, went on this retreat, man, it was tough. Thinking you've really done something. But no, I mean, we do experience suffering, but be willing to learn from it, willing to investigate it, willing to start to discern how do I hold this so that these are qualities of, because when you're willing to use, say, the dukkha, that it's quite ordinary and natural. But then to be using it to learn from. The whole path of the Buddhas is a path of learning and education and studying. It's not studying from the books, it's not studying from scripture, it's learning to study from our experience. And when the more we learn and the more skilled we are at learning, the more well-being there is.
คุณค่ะ
Okay, one more question.
กราบนมัสการค่ะ I'm still learning how to deal with like myself, like all the sadness, happiness, or grief and everything. But then I think it's harder if we're living in this society, especially we're living with our loved ones, and then we have to deal with their anger, with their concern, with everything that is like it's their feelings or their fear or their worry that is related to us or affecting us. Like, do you have any suggestion on how to deal with others' feeling? Or sometimes even we see the problem of like their problem, and then we're so willing to help, but something we cannot help. But we're so frustrated in wanting to help.
Yeah, I mean, all of the above, right? I mean, there is a level of difficulty and complication when you have. I mean, it's hard enough to deal with ourselves, and then dealing with our relationship partners, dealing with family, dealing with extended family, dealing with friends. Those are all, levels of and layers of complication. But it's also, it does keep coming back to those simple principles, those fundamental principles. How do I relate to this present moment? Whether it's, say, with me or with somebody else, what is the fundamental characteristic of that? Is it a matter of confusion, or is it fear, or is it aversion, or is there a view and an opinion being that I'm holding to? It should be like this. They should be like this. So just seeing that the filter of the world out there is our own minds and our own experience, and being able to sort of simplify it in that way, and which doesn't necessarily make it straightforward and simple, but it's sort of like you're recognizing the source of the problem, because so often there's a level of frustration when it's externalized. So that being able to recognize, okay, my own expectation is like this, for them to be a certain way. Oh, my own fear and worry is like this, and it's about them, but it's about us. So that more and more being able to keep coming back to that anchor. And you're not being dismissive of anybody or anything, but you're learning how to see where do I interact? What's the point of interaction? The point of interaction is always with the mind itself.
So you mean like if I keep practicing like mindfulness or do meditation and like my inner peace or something like that, or my wisdom, or like I have more at that level, so I know how to deal with like all the surrounding, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is possible, and that's something that is the the examples of good teachers. It gives us the encouragement that that this teaching or this practice actually brings results. That's something that's one of the benefits of having a good teacher, or having faith in the Buddha. How do I apply these teachings? So it has an impact on ourselves as we engage with the world.
Ajahn, sorry, could you allow one really last question, please?
One real last question? Go for it.
Because it might benefit our friends. As an animal activist, how do we find inner peace? I didn't mean to be animal activist, but the situation led me into being, when people Google my name, it will come out as Sintira Paitan. She has done such and such for one gorilla in Bangkok. There in Thailand, there is one gorilla up on top of the shopping mall. And I've been trying for 40 years to find her a new home. Right. But does it come from my ego to do something for her? Or how can I, like, ubekha, metta, karuna? I have been trying to. Yes.
I think one of the things is recognizing that these qualities of the Brahma Viharas, the or divine abidings, the loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, equanimity, they all have to be functioning in order to really affect. If you're just relying on loving kindness on itself, then it can be quite overwhelming sometimes, because the world is not always going to conform to it, and so that compassion it's important that compassion is exercised and it really resonates with the kind of suffering and limitations that the world is bound by. But it has to also be tempered with kind of the joy that one sees in the goodness of others, and joy that one sees in the goodness that does happen. You have to pay attention to it or draw your attention to it, because you can just get frustrated by a particular situation. And then certainly the aspect of equanimity has to hold it all together, so that there is a sense of stability and peaceful clarity that is able to accept. These are the way things are. These are the directions, and that we want to put these conditions in place to be able to set in motion, and to be able to work with that with kindness and compassion. But then there has to be that sense of joy and equanimity sort of cultivated and relied on at the same time. It's
so
not
hard,
just
Ajahn.
individual separate qualities that are randomly cultivated.
I still find it a bit hard because in Buddhist country, there are so many homeless, millions of homeless dogs and stray cats and dogs.
Yes, yeah. And if you pay attention to just that, you'll suffer. Because it's sad, it's bitter. I went to Bodh Gaya, and I was really impressed that the dogs look really healthy. They're still homeless and wandering around, but they seem to be doing not so bad. That was impressive. But anyway, just that sense of there is no end to the things you can suffer over, but you can put attention to what can you do to alleviate suffering for oneself and for others, and as you gain more skill and momentum in that, then you become more satisfied within yourself, and able to help others.
So do not frustrate ourselves to change the law or to set up the rules or to change the community.
Good luck.
Okay.
You obviously want to, some things you can try, and some things you want to test. It was like, say, like when I still lived in Thailand, one of the things I did was I put effort and attention into setting up a non-profit for protecting forests and protecting natural environments, and I remember, and it's actually was really quite delightful. I go back every year, and they're still functioning. So it's an NGO that's lasted for over 30 years. Is not a small. That's something to really delight in. But when I was still living here, somebody asked me one time, Ajahn, you seem to put attention onto protecting the forests and trying to keep the forests from getting cut down. Is it going to be possible in Thailand to stop the forests from getting cut down? No. No. Why do you do it? Because it needs good examples that it's possible on this scale, and if you extended it, you can plant seeds for other people to help with. And so I think that's what's happened.
Sadhu, Ajahn. Sadhu.
On that note, I would like to thank you everybody for your questions, and I'd like to thank Ajahn for entertaining all the questions. And Ajahn will be here for a little bit more, so if anybody wants to make an offering, please line up, and Ajahn will have a few minutes for you to make the offerings. But before we end formally, can I ask Ajahn to lead us in paying respect to the triple gem? You don't have to move, Ajahn. You can stay at the seat.
Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namassami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Saṅgho Saṅghang Namāmi